Please stand for the pledge.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started tonight, I'm going to do something I've never done before, and just because I believe I need it tonight, so you all can just take a moment of silence, I'm going to pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you today seeking your guidance and wisdom as we gather to discuss and make decisions for our city. Grant us the clarity and understanding to serve our community with integrity, fairness, and compassion. May our deliberations be inspired by your love and justice, fostering unity and progress for all. We ask for your blessing on each person present and on the work we undertake. May we always strive to do what is right and just in your eyes. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Roll call, please, Cecily.
Counselor Gorley. Here. President Pro Tem Mahler.
Here.
Counselor Sanchez. Counselor Thorstad.
Here.
Mayor Coleman.
Here.
Counselor Trask.
Here.
Counselor Richards.
Here.
Let the record show that we have 6 present and 1 absent. Counselor Sanchez got called away to work this evening. I'll entertain a motion to excuse her absence.
So moved.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. Cecily, please call for a vote.
President Pro Tem Mahler.
Yes.
Counselor Thorstad.
Yes.
Mayor Coleman.
Yes.
Counselor Trask.
Yes.
Counselor Richards.
Yep.
Counselor Gorley. Yes.
Let the record show that we have 6 ayes and 1 absent to approve Counselor Sanchez absence. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, consent agenda.
So moved. I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Cecily, please call for a vote.
Counselor Gorley.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Mahler.
Yeah.
Counselor Thorstad.
Yes.
Mayor Coleman.
Yes.
Counselor Trask.
Yes.
Counselor Richards.
Yep.
Let the record show there were 6 ayes and 1 absent to approve the consent agenda. Moving on to the next item, recognition of visitors and hearing of petitions. We have a number of people that would like to speak this evening. So let's go ahead and start with Mary Bridge. Please come forward, state your name and your address for the record. Right there. Yep.
I'm Mary Bridge and my address is 28232 Sanium Highway, Sweet Home.
And go ahead and you have
Okay.
3 minutes to speak.
What I'm here for is the Jamboree and the safety or lack thereof on Main Street. Main Street is a state highway, and ODOT, as we all know, is who is in charge of that highway. And permission was given somehow for a food truck and a hot dog stand between 12th and 13th. According to one of the property owners, this was given to them by city government personnel. I wasn't told who it was or anything, so I'm not speaking to that. There was propane tanks, there was a generator, there were 2 wheels of the food cart on the sidewalk, as well as the hot dog stand was on part of the sidewalk as well. There were 10 to 15 motorcycles on Saturday night parked in front of this food truck. And when I was leaving, someone was driving me as we go past. One of those motorcycles were trying to leave. And in order to leave, they have to come out, a motorcycle, and then they're halfway. So that's, they're coming out into the highway like that. So my concern is, I don't believe that the city can permit anything to be on state highway like that. So I would like that looked into. If there is paperwork, there's someone gave that permission, I'd like that looked into. My concern is that if you let one, you let them all. Why would someone pay to be a vendor in the Jamboree setting, if they can just set up on Main Street? So there was someone, I didn't see them, down by Safeway, and they were obstructing the sidewalk. And there was someone talking about an ADA complaint. We can't afford that. The other thing was, I'm an Elk, and there was a lot of conversation up at the Elks. My daughter does own the downtown, and they wanted to know from me and my husband how she got away with putting a food cart on Main Street. So we had a lot of talk that we had to do, explaining to people that had nothing to do with her, that wasn't hers. And we didn't know why it was allowed. And then there was talk even today. I mean, town. And there's a lot of talk about, well, they must have had a permit from the city. There's been talk on Facebook back and forth, but anyway, that's my thing I wanted to bring up is this needs to be fixed for next year. And I think it needs to come out. I mean, the city has their Facebook page. People look at it. I think the city needs to be proactive about telling people what they can and cannot do. And then I think that they need to enforce it. If that wasn't to be allowed on state highway in front, they should have been moved. And people need to be told that up front, and it needs to be just very clear. Otherwise, we're not going to have anyone wanting to pay money to be in the Jamboree so thank you for your.
Mary, thank you for bringing that to our attention. Next up is Diane Gerson.
Kind of strange sit on this side. So, Madam Mayor and councilors, I would like to address an open letter to Kelsey. Your first encounter with the public here in Sweet Home, you talked about all the positives you saw in us. You had answers to the skeptics about how to move us forward, and you delivered. Millions of dollars in grants have come our way through your efforts to develop parks, enhance the downtown, and complete the wastewater plant. You instilled a kind professionalism in Sweet Home City Hall. You mended fences with outside entities and formed coalitions. You set straight a listing financial ship. You were totally vocally positive about our community. You maintained an open policy door for citizens. You acknowledged the achievements of staff. For you, no problem was so big an answer couldn't be found. Thank you for always believing in us, even though we often find it hard to believe in ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Ken Bronson. State your name and your address for the record, please.
My name is Ken Bronson. Address is 6313 Lake Point Way, Foster. Yeah, that's still in Sweet Home. Anything else you need?
Nope, that's great.
Okay, so just be short and brief here. In the fall of 2022, our street people homeless problem was, just maxing out. And I was asked to serve on an advisory committee for the Family Assistance Center. In January 2023, that opened up. And I want to thank the community. There's so many people in the community that were involved in helping that, building the shelters, the high school involved, other volunteers, too numerous to count here. But most of all, I want to thank Kelsey for her leadership during that time and in getting us from an absolute sty. I won't use the language that you can really understand that we had in downtown around the old city hall and by the library to a manageable situation where it is now, and in a situation where our law enforcement community can take actions to keep it that way. So thank you, Kelsey.
Terry Martin.
Good evening, Terry Martin, 2812 Fur Court, Sweet Home. And I'm embarrassed that I'm not as eloquent as Diane is, but I hope you heard what she had to say because I second all of that. We're losing a good leader, and that's distressing. I appreciate the job that you all do. It's tough to stand before the public and get questioned and quizzed and such. But Kelsey's done a phenomenal job. She brought the school district in during the, what was it, the windstorm?
Mhm.
We had a windstorm, power was out, cooling centers and all of that. She brought the school district on as a partner, brought us to the table so that we could help out our community. It's distressing to me hearing of the incidents that have led up to her departure. And I know we can do better. And I hope those situations are being addressed so that we treat our next city manager better than we have our past city manager. This is a great loss for our community. Kelsey, I greatly appreciated and enjoyed working with you. And I wish you all the best. And again, I'm just disheartened for Sweet Home. I've only been here 4 years, but you can see quality. You can recognize quality when you have it. And in Kelsey as a leader, we had that. So thank you.
Jim Corley.
Jim Corley. I live at 1408 45th Avenue, Sweet Home. I asked for the opportunity to speak because I wanted to thank the council for hiring Kelsey Young. I think it was a great hire, so good for you. I hope you do as well next time, although those are going to be big shoes to fill. I also wanted to express my appreciation to you, Kelsey. You've served us well. I wanted to offer this note of thanks for changing the face of our community in so many ways. And I'm going to list some. You did a good job in helping make the Family Assistance and Resource Center a reality, as has been noted. Too many cities neglect the homeless. Then they struggle with negative consequences, eyesore encampments, crime, and litter. Because of your wise management, Sweet Home now provides a safe place for homeless to sleep at night. At FAC, they find resources to help them get back on their feet. They discover opportunities for employment. This is not only wise stewardship of resources, but is a compassionate example for other cities. And you managed all of that with a minimum expenditure of tax dollars. I think that's just impressive. You founded the Citizens Academy. Thank you. I found it to be an informative way for community members to learn how our city government operates. They can also identify ways they can get involved. I'm hearing impaired, and my wife says that occasionally I'm listening challenged. So I really appreciate the improvements in council chambers, especially the new mics and sound system. Furthermore, I love all the ways you spark plugged improvements in Sweet Home's appearance. New street lights, the improvements in the flowers in the downtown medians, and let's not forget, paint the town. That you brought collaboration from Miller Paint and Fitzpatrick Painting and a host of volunteers, and it's just more beautiful. I've traveled around the world, and I know this is a hard place to be, and you have definitely made it a sweeter spot to live because of your leadership. As you move on, you can justifiably feel proud of your accomplishments here. I feel sad to see you go, but you should know that I'm only one, and I think it's conspicuous here tonight. I'm only one of the residents who feel grateful for your time with us. So thank you again, Kelsey. May God richly bless you, your family, and your future endeavors. Thank you.
The last one is Peggy McGuire.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I feel like I'm part of the parade of recognition for Kelsey. Um, you know, my amazing deputy director has a sign on her wall that said, "Leaders bring the weather." And Kelsey, you bring the weather. Um, I met you about 2 years ago. I was at a meeting and I was talking about the resources that CSC has, and you made a beeline to me at the end of the meeting, and you immediately began talking to me about how you could get those resources directed to Sweet Home, what we could do, how we could partner. I have always just been so impressed with you. You're such a systems thinker. And as somebody else said earlier, no problem was too big. You could figure out how to bring everybody around the table. And we all wanted to come around the table and help you with this to solve the problem. And we always knew that we could count on you to deliver whatever you promised. That is really an amazing thing. So when Sweet Home really led the way to push Lynn County to request to be part of the governor's executive order, um, there were a number of things that happened. You stood up and you really made sure that everything that needed to be done was done. All the commitments that needed to be made were made. And you were at every meeting where somebody needed to represent Sweet Home. And that was just so nice and so refreshing to have that kind of participation. There were a lot of times when negative social media impacted kind of partner relationships and damaged credibility, and you were attacked personally, and you never faltered. You consistently showed up. I just admire that so much about you. I also want to say that when Commissioner Will Tucker went to bat at Oregon Housing and Community Services because there was money that was going to be lost to Lynn County, millions of dollars, he said, "Hey, if I can get this money, do you think you can find a partner that can use the money and put it to work in serving the homeless population?" I immediately turned to Kelsey and she said, "Give me a couple of hours. I'll be right back to you with a proposal. We'll figure out if we can do this." And my gosh, you delivered in such a great way. And that's what really gave me so much confidence as the director of CSC to always turn to you and know that anything that I asked of you, you would be able to deliver on. And any time that I had an opportunity, you were the primary partner that I would reach out to because I knew I could count on you. I echo what everybody has said. I will so miss working with you, Kelsey. I also agree that if this wonderful group found somebody as wonderful as you, I have high hopes for the next person, but I will truly miss you. And I thank you for everything that you've done.
Okay, now we need to take care of some actual other business. That was business too, though. So thank you, everybody who has just spoken. Moving on, we have new business to address. Request for council action, resolution number 18 for 2024, stating the intention to appoint a city manager and appointing a city manager pro tem.
Okay, thank you. So after all of those amazing words, and thank you all so much, I'm literally shaking up here. So please forgive me if it takes me a minute to sort of compose myself. But I want to start with saying that you all said some amazing, incredible things about me today, and I appreciate it. And none of those things could have moved forward without having the support of an amazing team as well. And so I do want to give just a round of applause for the team that has helped through all of this and has done a lot of this over the past couple of years. So thank you. And that brings me to this next piece. So it was not my intention to leave Sweet Home when I am. I was hoping to stay for multiple more years. And because of that, I completely recognize that it is creating some instability for the city of Sweet Home and particularly for staff and our team. We do have with council goals some really wonderful initiatives that are moving forward, and my recommendations in order to keep those initiatives moving forward are, wait, oh no, we are there, never mind. Okay, for a second I thought I had missed another council item. So my recommendations are twofold in order to keep the city moving, to keep staff stable, to keep the projects that are moving forward in a positive way, and to keep Sweet Home moving in a positive trajectory. And that is I would like to recommend appointing Chief Jason Ogden as interim city manager. He is an exceptional leader. He has been within the city for how long? 27 years, am I right? Okay. And he has the respect and love of staff and of many in the community. Jason is also a very brilliant person with a great capacity to learn anything that he hasn't learned, and an absolute huge appetite to continue to be a lifelong learner. So any tasks that would be in front of him, I have complete confidence that he would be able to continue to grow. He also leads with a compassion and humility that is truly exceptional, and he's just a remarkable person. And I think that Sweet Home would be in very, very good hands while the next decision is made. I would personally recommend you consider him for a long term, but of course, right now we're just looking at interim. I also would like to appoint Cecily Pretty as assistant city manager. Cecily has many years in government. She is absolutely brilliant. She understands the way that government works on all of the technical pieces, and she is the type of assistant city manager that can handle a great deal of operations and would be a perfect partnership to the city manager who is looking at sort of the larger ideas and working directly with council. Sweet Home is growing, and the types of projects that are coming forward with the wastewater treatment plants, with the concerns with the drawdown, with economic development in general, is going to be increasingly challenging. And quite honestly, over the past 2 years, I have lived and breathed and dedicated 100% just about of my time to being city manager here in Sweet Home. I have worked through weekends. I have worked in evenings. I have gone to events. I have worked while still not being cleared off of medical leave. I have worked with pneumonia and so forth. And it's partially because that is the type of commitment and time that is needed in order to move forward some of these projects in Sweet Home. By having a team of an assistant city manager and a city manager moving forward, you're going to have more stability there as well. And they're going to be able to tackle these projects from two different directions. What I'm also recommending is that Chief Ogden stay as chief for now and do both roles of city manager and chief. That's also going to not only give you phenomenal leadership, but it's also going to save money. And while the city of Sweet Home is one of the few cities that is currently in a strong economic state, that is something that you want to continue to consider as you're moving forward and to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. So, did I miss anything? All right. I'd like to go ahead and open that up for if you all have any questions.
Madam Mayor, especially with seeing the support of the officers that came here this evening, shows the support of Chief Ogden just in itself. Chief Ogden does a phenomenal job. Cicely does a phenomenal job. That said, I make a motion to approve resolution number 18 for 2024 for pro tem city manager and assistant city manager.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any other further discussion?
I'd like to discuss that. When we were looking at creating the position for an assistant city manager, it was not discussed whether that would be permanent or temporary, while the chief of police is pro tem, and that is temporary. We haven't hired our new city manager yet, so we don't know if that would be needed, but it would be, we would be making a permanent increase to somebody's wages. If we don't make it temporary for now to evaluate whether we need that moving forward. We're not a city of 20,000 people. We're a city of 10,000. And from the current wages to what is proposed, there's a significant difference. And so I would like to speak to the,
That's resolution number 19. And
Well,
we're looking at resolution 18 right now.
but the conversation is making this a permanent increase. And so we need to look at that because we don't know who the next city manager is going to be. So I'm very happy with the proposal, except for it wasn't discussed whether or not this would be permanent or temporary. And so that's something we need to look at.
Okay. We have a motion and a second on the table. And so we need to address the motion and the second.
Okay.
And so we need to deal with that first, and we can discuss further what we would consider for the future. I think that ends when this interim city manager position ends, we can even discuss then what happens then. But right now, we've got to deal with the motion that's on the table.
Okay, but the isn't the recommendation that we move the executive secretary to a assistant manager?
I'm understanding this is pro tem. That's the way that I felt the motion was, pro tem, both positions.
Kelsey, is it pro tem?
So there's two different pieces of this. So one would be the appointment of interim city manager. And that would also, how did we set it up?
So the motion
The
you're
next piece for the assistant city manager is just in the next.
correct. So resolution number 18 is exclusive to the city manager.
Yes.
So we are not making a commitment on the assistant city manager.
That is
piece yet.
correct. That is
Okay,
correct.
that is my
The
concern.
next piece is on the assistant city manager, and that's the next item.
Okay.
So, but in discussing this, it is recommended. But yes, they're two separate pieces.
Okay,
So this is just
Resolution number 18.
that absolutely affects my vote. Thank you.
That's the way I understood it.
Yeah, that's how you read it too. Resolution number 18 for 2024. So
Yeah, I knew it had only mentioned Chief Ogden, but in the conversation, it mentioned the other as well.
Cecily, please call for a vote regarding resolution number 18.
Counselor Thorstad,
Yes.
Mayor Coleman,
Yes.
Counselor Trask,
Yes.
Counselor Richards,
Yep.
Counselor Gorley,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Mueller.
Yes,
Let the record show that we have 6 ayes and 1 absent regarding resolution number 18. Moving on to request for council action, resolution number 19 for 2024.
All right, and I apologize if I got ahead of myself. So let me go back to, all right, so that would be on looking at the salary schedule for the, let's see, how do we have it worded? For the assistant city manager. So hiring an assistant city manager is an operational piece. So this would be so that would be a role that would then report directly to the city manager. So it would be the future city manager's decision to determine if they wanted to keep that role. And my recommendation is, in order to keep that stability, I would like to go ahead and appoint Cecily as an assistant city manager. And it is now council's decision to look at the salary schedule and to approve or to potentially modify.
So the next question. Traditionally, the represented staff, whatever percentages they get, the non-represented, the administrators, would receive the same to keep that balance, because an increase for somebody making a large amount of money is going to be much greater than somebody who makes a little bit of money. And even though on the same percentage is still a huge difference. And so I noticed in this, it's not listed what the percentage is. And we have tried really hard over the years to balance out our employees' wages with what is being paid out into other cities that are alike. And so it's not memorialized in here what the wage increases were based upon when we did this. And so the administrative services manager and the assistant city manager, I'm looking at what's proposed, and I'm looking at what the department heads are making. And so I just want to share with you that I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, I would like more information as to what those increases were based upon. And then I would prefer it still to be pro tem, because I think once you start paying somebody, there's a commitment to continue those wages. And if it's pro tem, then or temporary, then they know that and they can budget for that. And whoever's coming in would know that, and that continuity would be fair. So
Just to speak to that just a little bit, as council, we appoint a city manager, a judge, and city attorney. And as far as operations go, which is an assistant city manager would be considered operations. I'm not sure we can direct that to be pro tem because that's in the city manager's purview. But regards to the salary and what that was based upon, that'd be really helpful to have clarity. Can you just also clarify, Cecily currently is the administrative services director,
That's
not
correct.
services manager, correct? So that's that other line that's on that.
So the reason why the administrative services manager is the other piece that we do want you all to ideally approve is we had taken that position off briefly while we had reorged and had created the position of the Administrative Services Director, which is what Cecily Preddy currently is. The Assistant City Manager compensation is based on other Assistant City Manager compensation throughout the state of Oregon. We are asking to put the Administrative Services Manager back into rotation as well, because with not having me and doing some additional potential reorging, having somebody that could support in that role as an administrative services manager that can answer questions, that can work with the public, that can do basic HR functions is something that is going to be needed in order to keep everything moving forward. All of this with this increase, as well as with the administrative services manager, is still going to be a cost savings. And while it's possible that the city manager moving forward would want to reorg again or would want to do a cost savings, that would still be within their purview to do so. And they could choose not to move forward or keep an assistant city manager. They could choose to make that a director position again. There's quite a few things that can happen, but the compensation is more than fair based on looking at other cities. And still with this potential reorg, you're going to be looking at saving around 100,000 a year in just salary savings.
So I'm looking at, currently it's 8,000 a month and it immediately jumped to 9,600 a month. That's a $1,600 increase a month. And then I look at the second year and then I look at the third year and I'm looking at this and I'm saying, I still can only accept this because if it would say pro tem. Okay, that's, I feel that I am very grateful for Kelsey's role in our city and what she has been able to accomplish. It has been outstanding, but I'm really uncomfortable with making decisions that the new city manager will have to live with. And it will be easier to say, yeah, I love this role and I need you to be here, than it is to say, I'm sorry, we're cutting your wages. It's not nice. And so for now, I can only do this if it's pro tem.
Any other questions or comments from counselors? Okay, if there's, if you want to make a modification, you can, or a counselor can actually make a motion to approve as it is, or amend the request for council action.
I make a motion to accept the salary schedule as recommended, with the exception of adding pro tem to the assistant city manager.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second on the table. Cecily, unless there's further discussion, sorry, apologies. Cecily, please call for a vote.
Mayor Coleman,
Yes.
Counselor Trask,
Yes.
Counselor Richards,
Yep.
Counselor Gorley,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Mueller,
Yes.
Counselor Thorstad.
Yes.
Let the record show that we have 6 ayes and 1 absent to approve resolution number 19 for 2024. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, request for council action, family housing.
Okay, so thank you. So as let's see, trying to get my packets. There we go. So as you all recall, on March 1st of 2023, Sweet Home declared a state of emergency regarding the homeless population. And that was something that was discussed, particularly regarding families, and then the next steps having to do with FAC. And so we have talked to the health committee and a few other places about having some transitional housing. We have a fairly large number of homeless families and homeless children here in Sweet Home. And that's been an ongoing issue. And unfortunately, it's an issue that has been continuing. The MAC group was gracious enough to grant us funding based on the RFP that we submitted to the MAC group to provide houses for families that are in an emergency situation, such as living in tents or vehicles, while they were working on getting permanent housing. So this would be temporary transitional housing. A lot of these families are working or are disabled or have some other various things as well. But in order to get into long-term housing, there's an extremely long wait list. The other issue also is that it's very challenging to find housing for families for more than a couple spots. If you get a family that's a family of 6, for example, it can be very hard to get them into housing. So all of these families that we are looking at are Sweet Home residents, often have been for their entire lives and are now in a situation. The housing design that this would be for is about 5 houses that are cottages and are relatively inexpensive. They would be fenced and it would be a high barrier shelter. So this would be a family, and it's not even a shelter, excuse that my words there. Be transitional housing that is high barrier, drugs are not allowed, pets are not allowed, that would be providing dignity for these families and for these children. One of the challenges with children that are in these situations as well is it's hard to be able to keep track of them and get the services and get the help and stuff that is needed. And this can also provide a safe location where, is Terry still here? Where the schools are able to reach out, where a CSC can provide services and so forth. So these houses are quite cute. And can actually be painted and would be fenced. And so it's just another neighborhood that would also be providing a much needed service. And this is something that has been, we've all discussed for the past couple of years now. And the other piece is that Crossroads has submitted a proposal to manage this project. So if this moved forward, that contract would come forward in a later council meeting. So all of this is grant funded, including the management. And the management it doesn't need to be managed to the extent that FAC needs to manage their shelter. It would be more along the lines of making sure that everything, daily check-ins, everything's clean, but it would also be teaching life skills. For a lot of these families, it's been a very, very challenging time, and transitioning back into permanent housing and looking at all of that can be challenging. So it's talking also about cooking and managing a house again. And so it really is a program that would be transitional to help these families be successful while they're going into permanent housing. So can open that up for questions.
Kudos. You've done an excellent job. And I know we have families that are homeless. And I don't know that people realize this, that if you have a son that's over 12 years of age, you can't take them into a lot of shelters with you. And that is heartbreaking. These are amazing. Could you put that up on the screen so people can see what we're talking about? You've done an awesome job on this. And I think we have a lot of people that'd be interested in something like that because we have so many people living in substandard housing. Are any of these ADA accessible?
We are looking at one of them being 88, one of the large 40 that could hold more people.
Thank you.
I have a question. So we're getting the money from a grant for a total of $263,050 for these houses, which is fine and dandy for the new construction. So next year and the year after and all the repairs and the maintenance, who pays for that?
So that would need to be looking at ongoing grant programs.
What if we don't get grants?
So if you don't get grants, you have a couple options. One, you should be getting grants because you're going to have a program managing it that in order to keep managing it has to be working on getting grants to be self-sustainable. But you can also close it. One more piece too is the way that this funding is set. And Peggy correct me if I'm wrong with anything along these lines. After 10 years, you can use this for something besides transitional housing, and it would still stay with the city. You can also sell them and give the money back. So there's multiple things that can be done.
The grant that we secured, though, is not just for this 263. It's for that plus the management for a year.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, actually over a year.
So Madam Mayor, I've got a question. So Kelsey, if we have that amount of money and we're gonna build 5 of them or whatever the numbers
Mhm.
are, and we don't spend all of that money, can we use that for the stuff that if something gets haywire? Can we keep that money and fix a water or something?
So that wouldn't really be for this particular
Okay.
grant, but there are other programs out there that can potentially help us. And there is additional funding, and I'm not committing anything to that, but there is additional funding that CSC gets on occasion, and that the state is currently looking at additional funding that could come into programs like this. So there's a lot of opportunity.
Any other questions from counselors? Entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. And before we vote, I just want to say thank you, Kelsey, for the work that you've done. Thank you also, Peggy and CSC, for the work you have done to help secure these grants. Also just want to say to the school district personnel here, thank you for the work that you do with the homeless children in our community. And we're hoping that this really benefits those children and those families if it passes. So I think it's managed, compassionate care. So, yeah. Cecily, please call for a vote.
Counselor Trask,
Yes.
Counselor Richards,
No.
Counselor Gorley,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Mueller,
Yes.
Counselor Thorstad,
No.
Mayor Coleman.
Yes. Let the record show that we have 4 ayes, 2 noes, and 1 absent to approve the transitional housing. Okay, moving on. Reports of committees. Do counselors who are liaisons to city or regional committees have any committee reports to share? I can tell you from the Community Health Committee, August 17th, there'll be a health fair in front of the school, the high school. That is often a well-attended event that provides resources, information about resources within a community regarding anything having to do with your health. Any other committee reports? No. Moving on to reports of city officials, city manager's report.
So I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. I just want to say thank you all. I've appreciated my time here in Sweet Home, and I really want to just say thank you, and thank you to staff, and thank you to some of the wonderful, amazing community members. And I am going to dearly miss Sweet Home, and so thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Kelsey. So 2 years ago this month, the council at that time, this is my mayor's report, just in case anybody's wondering. The council at that time made their very first unanimous decision when we made a decision to hire city manager Kelsey Young. We were all excited about her creativity, her energy, and the experience she had with grants. I do not have the number in front of me, but even just recently, we were told of a $2.5 million grant that we are getting from Representative Lori Chavez DeReamer's office for the water distribution plant. That's the kind of grant money that Kelsey has brought to this community on a consistent basis. And you just saw the grant money that she received from CSC by working so well with Peggy McGuire and that organization there so well that CSC is moving into the other part of this building in the near future to make sure that the people of Sweet Home have services provided to them. That kind of consistent, hardworking, go after what's available to our community and bring it here is what's just made an impression on all of us. But one of the things that we tasked Kelsey to do when she first arrived was to build relationships and mend relationships with regional people, specifically the school district. And I believe by the presence of school district personnel here, she has succeeded in that brilliantly. Also, county commissioners, she has built relationships with them where there was some unrest there. I think a lot of people in the community do not understand the amount of work that goes on behind the scenes to make sure that kind of connection is happening. And sometimes we get focused on things that may be confusing to us. I want to encourage anybody in the community, if they have issues with what has happened in the community, to actually come to counselors, because the city manager's role and job is to just execute the will of these counselors. Even though even tonight there was a 4-2 vote on something, that means the council passed something. Whether or not the two counselors agreed with it, the council only has the power and authority when we're here as a council, and we passed something. So that means the next city manager, pro tem city manager, will be executing that, will be fulfilling that guidance that we've set forth. So if somebody has a problem with that, they should come to council, not to staff, not to the city manager. Now, just to clarify, and maybe this helps simplify things, council decides the what, and a city manager decides the how. So with our future city managers, we need to be careful on how we speak to them, how we speak of them. I am concerned for that. One of the quotes that's always stuck with me is, culture isn't just what we encourage, but it's what we allow to happen. And in summary, and we have allowed a leader in our community to online be attacked by people's nastiness. And it's embarrassing, because I don't think you all understand the amount of contact I even have from people in regional positions who say, what is going on in the city of Sweet Home? What are the people there doing? So we've got a great community. We have great things happening in our community. We have an amazing staff that work very hard to make things work. And sometimes I'm sad and embarrassed by the way that community members, counselors, treat each other. And I would just like to say, let's do better. Let's be kind to one another. And if you've got a problem with what's going on, go to the right people and then find out the information. But don't be so suspicious that you think something nefarious is always happening. Sometimes it's just what it is. But if you want to come to people and speak to them, come to counselors. I also want to say thank you, Kelsey, for mending staff relations, because when you came in here, staff was ready to walk, or most of them were. And I just want to say you've done a phenomenal job of caring for our staff, which we don't get anything done without them. The Citizens Academy, I had people come up to me and say, wow, that was really informative, because they didn't understand how things worked. If you did not come to it, or if you did not see it online, I'd recommend checking out the resources that have been put up there to explain how things actually function within local government. One thing that I heard recently was that stop signs was somehow big government. And I'd like to say that our stop signs went through a committee that was run and chaired by community members 3 times, at least, that I know of. It also went through a work session where community members can come and speak into that as well. Then it came to council a couple of times. That's about as small government as you can get, where community members can speak to where a stop sign goes. It's a stop sign, but community members had at least 5 opportunities to speak to where they go. So we actually have a small form of government, and people have lots of opportunities. Get involved in committees, speak up in committees, and come to council meetings like you just saw, and speak up about what you like is happening, but also what you'd like to see improved upon. If you have a problem, come to those in charge. That's us. But as a council, I just want to say, Kelsey, thank you for your 2 years of exceptional service. There are so many things that have already been mentioned, but the goodness that you've brought to Sweet Home, the order from FAC, and as Ken mentioned the chaos that was here, but then the order and the beauty that was mentioned in Paint the Town. You've just blessed us. So thank you so much. And we have a small gift for you. I can't believe I didn't knock that down the whole time I was sitting here. So. It does match and is a vase that has the City of Sweet Home logo on it to show our appreciation. And hopefully you can remember us fondly by that. So thank you. I could go on and on, but I shall not. Moving on, we have department director reports. Any department director want to highlight anything on their reports? Go ahead, Chief. Should
Yeah.
I call you Chief?
That's fine.
Yeah.
First, I wanted to thank the council for putting their trust in our temporary positions. Cecily and I are excited to grab onto that baton and continue running forward with that. Kelsey has done a phenomenal job. She has a lot of energy, and we have some big shoes to fill, but we're excited about it, even if it is temporary, and we will do the best job that we can do. So thank you for that. I want to highlight just a couple of things. Summer is usually a busier month for us with a lot of people out and about. We are going to be implementing our traffic position, so that is coming here within the next week or so. But with it being busier this summer, I wanted to highlight something in our June stats. Our property crime reports are down 25% for that month, which is really phenomenal. And then kind of on top of that, I want to share something from the Jamboree this past weekend. So we only took a total of 5 property crime reports, which is phenomenal. In the past, I'll just give you an example. Last year, we took 20. In 2022, we took 25. And in 2021, we took 12. So I want to thank my staff. The Jamboree hired some phenomenal security this year. I want to thank them for their partnership. Our officers, dispatchers, our volunteers, everyone who was a part of our team this summer, I was really thankful for. And it's paying off. And so I just wanted to highlight that for council.
That's a great thing to highlight. Thank you so much for bringing that to our attention.
Yeah.
Moving on to council business for the good of the order. I would like to circle back to public comment that was made earlier and recommend that something get put on the agenda for a future conversation, and that would be food truck policy. And I think that we have to have just to review that and see if there's specifics that we need to clarify within that policy. So I think I need a consensus of council to add that to an agenda.
I agree with that.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So we have a consensus of council to look at food trucks. Anything else for council for the good of the order?
Madam Mayor, if I may, oh, go ahead.
Councilor Thorstad raised his hand.
I just want to add that to that. It's not just food trucks. We have some other businesses that are popping up on sidewalks that aren't completely legal. So I think we need to address that too.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you.
I have a question. Have we hired a new code enforcement officer or anything?
No, not yet. So, that is in process. And one of the things that is happening there is actually a change of that program to a neighborhood improvement program that is looking at both code enforcement, but also enhancements as well to communities. So stay tuned. You should see that soon.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, if I may, there's going to be some people that don't like what I say today. And I think in my 12th year, the council that was there before, I will use the names of Greg and Diane, and we got the heck beat out of us over and over and over on this council. And we just flew off of it, but this went overboard. This was horrible. And she did not deserve, she did not deserve what she got from this council, period. And it's not going to go away. It's not, in my opinion. And I'm going to tell you how much of this you think is going to be on Facebook when we leave. It's going to be all over, all over. And another thing that I do not like, when somebody accuses me of something, why don't they come and talk to me face to face? And there's two counselors that I've never had a conversation with at all in 12 years, ever. How can you be a council together as a team, not an I, a team? That bothers me. I've lived here all my life and I've never had this treated me like this until now. And I agree with everyone that sat there and told you that she did a really good job, and that is a fact. Do I agree with everything we did when we had our meetings? No, we didn't. We didn't. But she's done a great job, and it was wrong. It was absolutely wrong. And when she said her little notice, what she was talking about, and she said that somebody in the council was treating her like a bully. How can you do that? How can you possibly do that? It's horrible, horrible. I'm sorry, but if you don't like it, that's too bad. I'm going to be out of here in 6 months. And so the reason I'm leaving is for this stuff. And I'm not the only one. So, and I want to read you something here about the stuff that she has done. Where did it go? All the stuff that she's done. There's a whole list of it here. There's a whole list of the stuff. And this is not all of it. She put it for $4.5 million for grants. We never had that before that I can recall at that number. And she did so much on the parks. She did so much on the quarry. She did so on the little garden thing down there in Strawberry in that park. And for the water stuff that she got a lot of stuff for, and the road pavining, that's all that stuff. And it really bothers me. It really bothers me. And then we have a counselor that missed 35 meetings from 22 to 23. 35. That's as many as the rest of probably put together. How can you possibly be a counselor if you don't come to meetings? Period. You want the numbers? I've got them right here. Anybody wants to see these? Right here's a page of them. You know how many I missed in 12 years? One. Thank you. I'm done.
Any other business for the good of the order?
Well, before you close, I would like to say, as a little girl, I was taught to leave the world a better place than when I found it, whether it was camping, wherever. We always leave the place better than when we found it. And I think that's what you've done. When you stand back and look at Sweet Home, it looks better than when you arrived. Thanks.
Oh, Kelsey, as your last meeting, just another thank you. Even the new dais is beautiful. You left the place looking more beautiful than when you found it. So thank you so much. And I will end this meeting at 7:33.
It's okay.